So, a lot of questions that we get here at Rauch and Associates all begin the same way. People are concerned that their resume is dated and that it might not be effective in today's world of ATS or applicant tracking systems. So, the reason that they reach out is because they're not getting the results that they want with the resume that they have. And they want to know what's wrong? Like, what am I doing wrong with it? I want to break this down into the four simple, complete truths, right? So these are the things that I know are universally true. Number one, you've heard this before. Recruiters and hiring managers, they do not read your resume until later in the process when you've already been established as a viable candidate. So it's great to have compelling content, and we encourage you to do that, but you have to bear in mind that at first you're just trying to grab their attention and get them to move you from the pass stack to the we want to get to know this person more to qualify their skills. And in order to do that, that's point two. You have to be compelling enough to grab their attention at the top part of your resume. We call it the above the fold. So if you're like me and you were around in the 90s, you remember that there were these things called letters and you had to fold them 3 times to get them into an envelope. Well, imagine your resume being folded 3 times to be able to fit into an envelope. You have to have convinced the reader, or the glancer as we call it, that you are an appropriate match for this role above the first fold. That's in the top third of your resume. So that means your title, maybe the bullet points that you have there, your summary, it all has to be in alignment with the role that you're applying for. And so many folks, they send out the same resume over and over and over again, and it just doesn't work. It really must be tailored. And when I say tailored, just to be clear, I don't mean fluffed or put something on there that isn't factual or true. That would be completely terribly wrong. Don't do it. But what I am saying is that in the course of our careers, we've done many things. All of us have. And if we're applying for a particular role, we want to highlight the accomplishments or the job skills that we've had that are in alignment with that role that you're applying for. You're trying to convince them before they even speak to you that what you have done is a logical match for what they need to be done, the job that they have to be done, right? So you're trying to make those connections. You're trying to connect the dots. That's where the top above the fold part really comes into play. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the content and the visual. There's 2 elements that I grade a resume by. The content, which means what we just talked about, how it aligns your work history with the job that you're applying for and makes you a person that would be a logical, candidate. And then there's the visual, and that means how it looks. Now, there are many opinions on the visual component of how a resume should look, but the things that are consistently universal are clean, crisp, modern. Last thing I want to talk about is, unfortunately, the recruiting process in America particularly is very broken. We use applicant track, not we, major companies use applicant tracking systems to weed out prospective candidates. And because of that, you need to understand how to SEO, which means search engine optimize your resume so that your resume has the keywords embedded into it in the content that would be searchable and recognizable by these applicant tracking systems. What this means is if you're going for a role that is the vice president of business development, you need to use ChatGPT to say, what are the keywords that a hiring manager or a talent acquisition manager would use when Boolean searching for a person like me that has a background in business development. And then make sure that those words are listed in your resume. Now, I'm not talking about keyword stuffing. That's a whole nother subject, but I do think it's important that you understand that recruiters, all recruiters, they have to type in keyword searches in order to find resumes that align with the position they've been hired to search for. So you have to kind of reverse engineer your resume so that, yes, a regular reader could read through it and it would be, logical and so forth. But you also have to remember that they're never going to find you. You're going to be invisible to them if you don't have the keywords that they're plugging into their search. So spend a few minutes, Google keyword optimization as it pertains to resumes, and understand how the game works. So I could go on and on, but this video is just a very quick 4 points of what's most important to bear in mind as you look at your resume, as you're kind of thinking about maybe putting yourself out there. You need to bear these things in mind. I hope this was helpful.